Welcome to pig dissection number 3. In this video, we are going to look at the respiratory system of the pig. Now, in our previous video for the models, we looked at the structures that we are going to identify here. This top structure here, we see the thyroid cartilage, and this is the thyroid cartilage of the larynx. When we look inside of this structure, what we see is we see the epiglottis. So to compare that to what we had over here, we see that we have the thyroid cartilage and we have the epiglottis, right? So when we look inferior, we see that we also have the cricoid cartilage here. So that is inferior to the thyroid cartilage of the larynx. Now the cricoid cartilage connects to the trachea, and the trachea has C-shaped rings of hyaline cartilage. And when we look at the trachea, if we flip it over and we look at the back here, what we see is we see that the esophagus was directly attached to the back. And to better represent that, I'm going to take a look here at this other dissection, and we're just going to together pull that apart. So here's the trachea, and here is the esophagus. So you can see that I'm just pulling that away from the trachea. So the esophagus lives directly on the back of the trachea. As we move inferior to the trachea, we move downward, and here what we see is we see that the trachea is going to bifurcate into the primary bronchi. Now, I have taken off the heart, so when we first looked at this here, we see that the heart lives in the mediastinum and it is medial to the lungs. So when I remove that, what we see is we see the parts of the respiratory system that we need to look at. So once again, the trachea is going to bifurcate into the primary bronchi, and the point at which it bifurcates is called the carina. Once it divides, it's going to divide into the secondary bronchi. And there's a few more secondary bronchi here than in the human. So if we shave back, we can start to see, or shave back parts of the lungs, and we can start to identify more of the branches of the bronchi here, right? Right, so just shaving back the lungs, it's usually not this easy, and the reason is because we're looking at a gestational pig. I'll talk more about that in our lecture. All right, so we're seeing all those very nice branches of the bronchi. All right. That is it.